I didn't. Well, I watched it live when I first started.
Oh, I thought you went back.
And then when I went on, so when you also went back in, you also saw Pearl Out only?
No, I didn't go back in. I left at 8:45, but I wanted to go back and see the third guy. The guy from Larry Show Baltimore spoke unbelievable. Like I heard him, and I just wanted to. I missed one part of what he said.
I heard Rav Aaron speak as well. Yeah, so maybe it's not recorded. Maybe you have to go on the Agudah website. I don't know. It'll probably be on YouTube somewhere.
Right. Yeah. So wasn't there? How long does it take to get? I guess maybe by today they'll find it.
They didn't hire Akiva.
Well, I made up with Rabbi Lowy that if they were only going to do phones, and I'm sure it was politics where to stream it, if to stream it on. I doubt streaming it on YouTube was ever an option.
Right.
But if they only would have done phones, the way Shea Staub is doing something on Thursday,
right,
at 8:45, I would have done a Zoom to it. I would have pulled in the audio, and I would have put pictures up of the Novominsker and whoever is speaking.
Yeah.
And we would have gone and listened to it together. So.
Right. Yeah, I know
who's the new rabbi?
The son.
But he's not Rosh Agudah Yisrael necessarily.
No.
I
don't know. Have they named somebody?
No. That's they have to go into the room and black smoke and the whole
No.
Yes.
White smoke.
No.
White smoke. Yes, there it is. Sure, there is. That's not an easy thing to do. What do you think right away? It will be one of the existing.
It'll be like 4 rounds of elections.
It'll be either Rav Shmuel or it'll be Rav Aaron.
No, it won't be Rav Shmuel. It won't be Rav Shmuel.
They'll say no.
No, it'll probably be Rabbi Feldman or the DYLive. Probably DYLive, because they need somebody a little bit Hasidish. The Novominsker had both.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was. How does the
very
son...
nicely. DYLive spoke very nicely yesterday.
Very nicely. Yeah, he went from... And then he spoke in English afterwards.
He's a character of a guy. He was Masada Kedushin by one of my son-in-laws. So before my son-in-law made the Kedushin, he asked him, "Is that your ring?" He said, "Did you pay for it?" He said, "No, my father gave it to me." So he turns to him, "Is that your ring? Did you pay for it?" He said, "No, I got it from my brother. I'll already settle up with him." "No, you got to pay him right now." So he made him under the chuppah, call his brother up and pay him for the ring right now.
Wow. Great story.
They gave him a check? 1 minute.
No, he gave him a US dollar.
It could be his brother set him up. His brother may have gone to the Rebbe.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense, because under the chuppah, the brother turns to the Rebbe and says, "Thank you."
Wow, Shmuel.
I have some other people.
So deep.
I have some other people I'd love to call here.
That's how you got to give it.
He should have given him his whole accounts receivable list. Whoever was at the customer.
But you know,
it's for 10%. You know,
Shlomi, it's a brilliant idea how to get more kibbudim under the chuppah.
I don't know if you would call it a kibbud, but maybe call it a chiyuv.
I think it's called a Brazilian.
No, but somebody to find the dollar.
That is unbelievable. Shmuel, I don't know how your brain just went there, but that was special.
All right.
That was great.
Okay, Dr. Gemara.
Sponsors again by Shlomi Goldreich. Let me see if I remember the names now. The mother yahrzeit is today. Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Today.
Hey Iyar.
Hey Iyar.
Hey Iyar is Yom Ha'atzmaut today. Rivka Bas Reb Menachem Mendel Halevi. And then your fathers, and the father also, Simcha Moshe Breb Shloima. All of a Shalom yahrzeit is Shabbos. Okay, so it's being, just so you should know, it's being streamed live on our channel. If you have to get into the car, you don't have Zoom, you can watch it on the Agudah Broadcasting Commission. We're being streamed live. Amir Hashem, our Zoom room is going to be so full. Why should they have to stand? Go to YouTube and watch it.
Okay, so watch it with
ABC.
On ABC, Agudah Broadcasting Commission of Toronto. It's
I thought it stood for Akiva Bolter Commission.
Yeah, communications. Eventually, that's going to buy out ABC.
You're finding the hidden meaning in things. Okay, gewaltig. Okay, Zak the Heilige Gemara. Chaim, see what's behind you? Is that the library? That's the library? That's Barbara from library?
Yep, okay, I have to give credit where credit is due.
Okay, gewaltig. Zak the Gemara. So we learned yesterday a Mishnah that was discussing different things that animals are allowed to go out with, and different things that animals are not allowed to go out with. So we had on Nun Gimel Amud Aleph, I'm sorry, it was Nun Beis and Beis. The bottom of the Beis and Beis, we had a Mishnah that talks about a chamor. Chamor can go out with a mardas if it's tied before Shabbos. We learned, and then we had Zecharim Yotzim Levuvin, Rechel Yotzim Shchuzois. So Levuvin and Shchuzois were to prevent the animal from mating or to encourage mating, and then there was Kavulois Ukavunois. So that's what we're up to now. It says Rechel Yotzim Shchuzois, which we know that's to encourage mating. Kavulois and Kavunois are the next subjects of the Gemara. We want to know what that means when the Mishnah says that the Rechelim could go out that way. Zok the Gemara. Rechelim yotzes kavulois. My kavulois, what is the definition of kavulois? Zok the Gemara shemachavlin al yoshalahen lamata. They tie the tails of the females down. Kidei shelo yalu alei nasfar. So when it's not time to mate, the owners of the animal want to prevent mating, so they tie the tails down, which will prevent mating. And Rashi says the lashon of kavulin is a lashon of kevle barzel, kshura. It's a lashon of metal chains which tie things down. So basically, they're trying to seal up this female animal so it shouldn't mate. My mashma dai kabul lishna ovid period. Now, here the kavula doesn't just mean tie down; it means tie down to prevent it from mating. So where do you see that the lashon of kavul has also a connotation of preventing Paris? The chsiv maha arim ha'ela asher nasat li achi ayirka eretz kavul ad hayom hazeh. So Rashi tells us that there were 22 cities that Shlomo Melech gave to Hiram as a gift because Hiram supplied Shlomo Melech with skilled tradesmen. And it was very hard to find skilled craftsmen in those days. And as a gift in appreciation of him supplying him with these skilled people, he sent him 22 cities. My Eretz Kovel, what does it mean Eretz Kovel? Why are those lands considered Eretz Kovel? Oh, this is going to be such a Geshmaka Gemara. I'm so excited to say this Gemara. My Eretz Kovel, what does it mean that this land is chained? Rav Huna shahayu ba b'nei adam shemechuvalim b'kesev azov. There were people who were wrapped around. They were so wealthy, they were literally wrapped around with silver and gold. Frek Gemara, that's a very good thing. If you have wealthy citizens, you could tax them to death, and you could float your government's shenanigans and wasteful spending on pet projects that are completely useless and social engineering. You could do it off everybody else's back. So why in the world did Hiram not like that? Because the next pasuk says, what couldn't he have liked about it? Zot Gemara, beautiful. He has rich citizens. I'll tell you why I didn't like him. Even the Assyri, since they were rich and funky and they were mefanokim, they didn't work. They were latte sipping socialites who never worked a day in their life, just living off the T4s, off the T3 trust funds left for them by their wealthy parents. They'll never work. They won't want to work. They'll want to live off the fat of the land and never do an honest day's work. No king wants lazy, entitled people in his control, unless, of course, he needs voters. Yitzchok Eretz Chumtin Haya. That's what it has nothing to do with politics. The problem had nothing to do with politics. The problem was it was a very dry land that had cracks in it. Chumtin is what we learned a couple of blot ago was a salty substance that you would mix in to grain when you sold it or when you stored it. It would stop it from rotting. It was like a preservative. That also would be found in dry land that would have sinkholes in it. So Eretz Chumtin Ha'isa. But my Karla Kavel, why was it called Kavel? The Mishtarga Bakaya at Kavlo. Here the word Kavel refers to the thigh. There were sinkholes so deep that you would walk you would walk on this land and your leg would sink in all the way up to your thigh. So it was a very bad land. Therefore, people would say about this land that it's a locked up land. It doesn't produce pears. I have to just take a break for a half a second because we might be getting a very special guest today. So I'm just going to tell him it's now.
Kiva, you have your title for the shir now, no?
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
Yesterday, with all the late sonas about the title, the recording didn't come out. So.
Okay. Zogt Hele Gemara weiter. See, it's interesting in those days where it was a dictator, the kings were dictators, and they were looking for people who would work. Rashi says, Avidat is a Nagri Hashemelech, meaning the government had the ability to mandate that people do work. Nowadays, it's exactly the opposite. The leaders are followers because they're just looking for votes. So what was good in those days, hardworking people who could produce, today that's bad for a liberal leader because he needs freeloaders who will vote for him to keep on getting their entitlements. Okay, but they don't chop that eventually the payers are going to pack out. So it says that the rechelim are allowed to go out kavulos, which means they're with some type of tie that ties down its tail, and they're also allowed to go out kavunos. What does kavunos mean? My kavunos. So they would be wrapped with leather. So they had a big piece of leather that they would wrap around the animal as soon as it was born. And what connected it at the top? Because when you have something that's wrapped around, you got to connect it, otherwise it falls off. There was a series of hooks that hooked the two edges together that kept the wrapper around the animal. And the purpose of that is that Rashi says that the day that a lamb is born, it has very white wool. Never is it whiter than at that point. So right away they would wrap it to protect it from getting dirty, and that would make a very special type of wool called melas, which was very valuable because it was whiter than white. Kedetnan, se'ez katzemer lavan. One of the marish of the goyim is compared to tzemer lavan. My tzemer lavan, Amar Bibi Barbaya, katzemer naki ben yoimai. It's like the clean, pure wool of an animal that was just born that day. We protect it. We protect it so that it could be used for melas. So these things are allowed. Now remember, as David Lightman mentioned yesterday, you need to have two ingredients in order for an animal to be able to go out with something. The first ingredient is it has to be something that benefits the animal, and it's not like it's carrying a load. And B is it has to be something that we don't need to be concerned that it might fall off, and then you might pick it up. So either it has to be something that's well tied that there's no chash that it'll fall off, or if it's not well tied and it will fall off, it has to be something that you wouldn't be interested in retrieving, such as a bandage. But what you see from here is if you might ask yourself, why is it good for this animal to walk around in this tight leather sleeve so that its wool should be protected? It's not getting its wool anyway. The wool is being cut off by its owner, being sold. But vice versa, that's also called shmira. So shmira means it's done to protect the animal, even though the animal's not going to benefit from itself anyway, and versus a load where the animal is working to carry something else. So the next line in the Mishnah on the bottom of Nun Beis, Amud Beis, is izim are a lot of gotchas. Let's just read the Lashon Mishnah inside as we learn the Gemara. It makes it clear. So it says after it discusses the rechelos that are allowed to go shchuzos, kulos, and mevunos, it discusses izim that can go out shruros, and shruros was that it's the udders are tied up. And I just want to learn the Mishnah inside because there's a shtickle three-way machlokes going on in the Mishnah. I want to clarify it because the Gemara is going to analyze it a little bit now. So we had a whole list of items that animals could go out with. And the last on the list was izim yochos shruros, and go with its udders tied up. Then Rabbi Yosy oisha b'chulim chutz min harechel nachavunos. Rabbi Yosy argues on the entire Mishnah on Shruos and everything. The only thing that he allows animals to go out with are rechelim that have this leather around it to protect its wool. And then Rabbi Yehuda says, I agree with the Tanakama. All those things are mutter. The only condition I'll make is the one item of Izim Yochas Shruos. That's not a blanket heter. That's only if the reason why they were going out Shruos was to stop the lactating. But if it was to retrieve the milk, then I would not allow it. So that's the three-way machlokes in our Mishnah. Okay, so let's see the Gemara now. Shruos, Itmar, Rav Omar halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Rav says the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda was a shita who holds, like the Tanakama for Mishnah, that all those things are allowed, except by Shruos, there's a condition that it has to be only if it was tight, because we were doing it for stopping the animal from lactating, not to capture the milk. The Shmuel Omer halacha Rabbi Yosy. Shmuel holds none of this would be allowed. The only thing that's allowed is kavunos, which is wrapping the animal to protect its wool. The Ikadah Masna Lahashmaitza, this thing that we just quoted, where Rav said halachas Rabbi Yehuda and Shmuel said halachas Rabbi Yosy, there are those who quote this memory differently. The Ikadah Masna Lahashmaitza b'Pinafshe. Rather than Rav pasking like Rabbi Yehuda and Shmuel pasking like Rabbi Yosy, they just stated an independent shita. Rav Omer liyavish muter v'loy l'chalav, which is like Rabbi Yehuda said. Shmuel Omer echad aser, which is like Rabbi Yosy. Now, you might ask, why would Rav and Shmuel say the halacha as if it's their own halacha? If there's Tanoim in our Mishnah arguing, why wouldn't they just say like the first nusach in the Gemara, halacha Rabbi Yehuda or halacha Rabbi Yosy? So Tosfos asked that kasha, and it's the second Tosfos at the top of the Amud, and Tosfos answers very simply. In terms of Laomer halacha kamar, they must have known that they were people who change around what these Tanoim held. So in order for their psak to be crystal clear, they actually expressed the halacha that they are saying, not the Tana who it's being attributed to. The Ikadah law, and there's a third version of this same memor, and that it was not even referring to our Mishnah, rather is referring to a new brisa. Izim yoytzes shruos liyavish aval l'chov, which is Rabbi Yehuda shita in our Mishnah. In this brisa, the Tanakama, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir Amru, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir, they said kach halacha. In fact, mi'ikar adin, that's what halacha should be. Someone walking down the street, seeing animals walking shruos, how are they going to know exactly what the purpose of this apparatus that's installed? How will they know what it's for? So Rashi, mi mapis mi matal goyer lumavchin ezel liyavish vezel lacholov. Barayos and shruos liyavish. If someone sees animals walking and their udders are tied up for the right reason, according to Agudah, to stop the lactation, but he might not recognize that. Omer de l'cholavu. A roya means not a shepherd. A roya is someone who sees it. So a spectator might think that this was installed to capture milk. And then he might go and be matir everything, even where it's aser. And since we can't tell what the intention of the person who made this apparatus was, therefore, I'm outlawing shruos across the board. So in this brisa, the Tanakama would hold like our Rabbi Yehuda, and Yehuda and Beseir is similar to our Rabbi Yosy. And that Amr Shmuel, Amr Rabbi Yehuda, Amr Shmuel, halacha Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir. So Shmuel's passing like Yehuda ben Beseir that shruos are also completely, and he also Ravin Amr Rabbi Yehuda halacha ketanakama. Now Rashi learns that this halacha ketanakama is not like the Tanakama of the brisa that we just discussed, that it makes a difference if it's liyavish or l'cholav. Rather, it's halacha ketanakama of our Mishnah, whose matter everything, even l'cholav, it's mutter for an animal to go out shruos. Okay, zot the Gemara weiter. Zot the Mishnah weiter. Uvama ein yoytze. So we're going back to the first Mishnah, where the Mishnah said b'meh behem yoytzes. And now we're discussing what are you not allowed to allow the animals to go out with? So tomorrow, lo yetze gomel b'mittelteles. And gomel may not go out with a mittelteles. Rashi, in his second shot, says, and Rashi likes his second shot. Rashi says that it means a mardas. It's just like a chamor we talked about, that saddlecloth. Oh, we have a very chushive, visitor. Yitzchok here. Shalom aleichem. Welcome, welcome.
I have to leave in a minute, but
the fact that you're here is enough. If you want, you could share with us. There's a Chalomos Yitzchok. There's a beautiful Chalomos Yitzchok on the sugya of Kamfiyon. Did you?
No, actually, I was going to say something. I heard a beautiful 2-minute thing on today's daf, but
okay, let me hear it.
You have a minute now?
For Isaac, of course.
Okay, so it says in this week's parsha, Achrei Moshe Shnei Bnei Aaron. So after Nadav Avihu died, so it says by Eov, it says he said on this death of Nadav and Avihu, Af lezois yechrad libi. Because of this too, he's greatly afraid. So kasha is, what does Eov have to do? Why is he afraid? Because Nadav and Avihu died. So it says in the Gemara in Tzayta, Shlosha Hayu B'Oisa Eitza. 3 people were involved in the Eitza of how to destroy Klal Yisrael. Bilam, Yisra, and Eov. Bilam, who gave the Eitza, so he had a Misa Mapola. Yisra ran away, and Eov Shosak. Eov was silent because he was quiet. He got terrible Yisurim, right? So the question is, why did he get, terrible Yisurim? Because he was quiet. There's Gemara in Sanhedrin, it said Nadav and Avihu were walking, and they said, Masai, Yamush Shnei Zakanim, these 2 Zakanim die, and Nadav said to Avihu, and we'll take over. So they both died. So the question is, Avihu, he didn't do anything. Like, he just listened. So why did he die? So Chad is, when Eov saw that Avihu died, even though he did nothing, so he was afraid because he was shosak. He did nothing by Oisa Eitza, and therefore he died. And you'll see today your great Maggid Shir on the next stuff. It says that where is it? One second. Yeah, it says on the next daf, it says, anyway, I can't, but it says on the next daf, whoever hears something and is not a moicha, then here it is. Kol mi she'efshar limchos la'anshe beisa v'loi micha nitfas al anshe beisa v'anshe iroi nitfas al anshe iroi kol ha'olam kulei nitfas al kol ha'olam kulei. If you have a chance to protest something and you don't, you're responsible for the whole outcome. So it ties into what we just said. I'll let your wonderful Maggid share. I have to leave. Sorry.
Okay, have a good day.
Don't leave. We want to show. We don't want to just be silent after you say something. Everybody should unmute and give him a big shkoyach.
By the way, this is not what I heard it from Reb Daniel Gladstein, who says it over in the name of the Chidah. It's not my own book.
Sure,
oh, he's great. Reb Gladstein is great. I love him.
Yeah.
That was Reb Yishvei's motto: never be silent if there's something you have to protest about.
Right. Okay,
we'll be busy for a long time.
Okay, have a good day.
Isaac, just you should know, whatever you said is on YouTube. If you want to watch it later or send somebody the link, you can let know. If you want, I'll put in Chalomos Yitzchok promotion in there too. No charge.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, Zog the Gemara weiter. So it says, and we said Mittelteles is a mardas, which we said is a saddlecloth. So a gomel may not go out with a Mittelteles. It may not go out okud v'loy rogel. Okud is tying, and we'll see exactly what the configuration is. The pashas is tying the front leg to the back leg, and that was done to impede the animal from moving quickly, and it could only hobble, and therefore it wouldn't run away. The rogel is if you take one leg of the animal, bend it tightly at the knee, and then tie the ankle to the leg, so it basically lost one leg temporarily. Again, it would not be able to run away very quickly. And the same thing would be with all other behemoths. They're not allowed to go out, not open with rogel. Now, you're not allowed to tie camels to one another. So the way I envision it is, I'm holding a rein that's holding one camel, and then from that camel there's a rein that goes to the next camel. So it's like a caravan of camels. You're not allowed to do that, and the Gemara is going to tell us why. You're allowed to hold a whole bunch of leashes in your hand together and pull them all together, as long as you don't wrap it. And again, the Gemara is going to analyze the details of what these things mean. Tana zok the Gemara. Lo yitza gamel b'mitol teles hakshur loy biznova. A gamel may not go out with a mitol teles that's only fastened to his tail, because it could fall off. If it's tied to his tail in the back and to the hump in the front, so that would fasten it that it shouldn't fall off. So you see here clearly that the reason why you're not allowed to let a gomel go out with a mitol teles is not because it's called a masui, but it's because we're afraid it'll slip off. It's valuable, and then the owner will lift it up and carry it. So in fact, that svara that David Lightman mentioned yesterday about the concern of it falling off and carrying it, that's not a sideshow. That's very featured in many of the isurim for the animals to go out. In many cases, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a masui. In many cases, it's only because we're afraid it will fall off and the person will lift it. So shkoich David for that. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, yoyte agomel b'mitol telos hakshur lo b'shul yosa. Now, they did weird things in those days. If it was tied to a shulya, meaning you have an animal that gave birth and it still has stuff coming out of it, so you're allowed to tie the mitol telos to that, but it's very painful for the animal to move that around, and because of that, the gomel will make sure not to shake it off or anything, because it's going to be painful. Rashi is keeping the koyev leimanaftali. The animal's not going to shake it off. Now Rashi here suggests that maybe a mitol telos is something else. Maybe it's a cushion, it's a padding. Since they had a strap that wrapped around behind the animal's tail, and that stopped loads from shifting forward, but that puts a lot of stress and strain on that area of the animal. So in order to make it less painful, they put a little pad over there. Similar to our knapsacks. Usually at the point where it rests on your shoulders, they usually have a little bit of extra padding there, so the strap shouldn't irritate our shoulders. So now we're going to get into the configuration of these legs that are tied.
Yosy, sorry.
Yes.
Yosy, sorry. The mitol telos was a blanket of a sort, or there's no indication of what it is at all?
No. Rashi says in the Mishnah that it's a mardas, which is a blanket. It's like a saddle blanket. So that's exactly how Rashi touches. But Rashi here throws in another pshat from mitol telos, that it's a small cushion that was used to separate between the strap that would be wrapped around the animal and the actual animal skin. So it was like a little layer of padding around the strap.
Sure.
And so those are basically two pshat from Rashi. Either it's the sponge it's the padding for the strap, or it's the saddle blanket. What does akud mean? Akedis yad v'regel. You tie the hand to the foot. Ki Yitzchok ben Avram. So Rashi gives us a detailed description. Imagine Yitzchok's lying on the stomach, and we tie his right ankle to his right wrist. That forces his back to arch back. So now his neck is stretched out. And that's exactly what Akedah means. It's tying the arm to the leg, or in an animal's case, the front leg to the back leg. Rogel, what does rogel mean? Don't fold over the leg like at the elbow and then tie it down this way, because that again will disable that leg. And to tie it up. we're going to show you that Rabbi Yehuda's definition is wrong. Because the Brisa says, Akud is shtei yadayim ushtei raglayim. It doesn't just mean one arm to one leg, it means both. Yet Rabbi Yehuda says it only means one. Rogel shalayakav yodei al gabi zor v'yikshar, which is consistent with what Rabbi Yehuda said. So Yehuda Amar ki Haitani, he holds of a different Brisa. The Tanya, Akud is akidus yad v'regel. Oy shtei yadayim ushtei raglayim, which is not consistent with what Rabbi Yehuda says, but the first comment is akidus yad v'regel is precisely what Rabbi Yehuda says. And Rogel, again, is consistent with what Rabbi Yehuda said. Shalayakav yodei al gabi zor v'yikshar. It's still not exactly alike, because the middle case is not a case that Rabbi Yehuda defines as akud, yet the Brisa does define that as akud, when both hands are tied to both legs. The Reisha and the Sefer is exactly what Rabbi Yehuda said, but Mitziyasa Kasha, the middle case, is not consistent with Rabbi Yehuda. So Gemara Elahuda Amar, Rabbi Yehuda is talking, he holds like a different Tana. He Hai Tana, who says akud akidus yad regel only, Yitzchok ben Avram, and the Rogel Shlo Yaakov Yodei al Gabi Zor v'Yikshar. So that our Mishnah is not allowed.
Yosy.
Yes.
If it's both legs and arms are tied, how could it walk out? It says you're not allowed to walk. It shouldn't walk out. Couldn't walk at all.
It's not going to be able to move very much at all. Well, that's why Rabbi Yehuda is explaining in our Mishnah that it's only one leg. This Brisa, the Brisa that we quoted, what Akud was, I don't know if that's relevant to Hilchos Shabbos. I don't know what that's relevant to, that Brisa that's discussing both hands and both legs.
I don't think it's tight. It's a loose lead, so we can't
Yeah.
the animal can't run.
Okay, no, that could be. But oh, so you're saying even if all four legs were tied together, it would still be possible to hobble and move slowly.
Right.
I hear it.
Yeah, I think it's like a prisoner. If you think about it, how a prisoner sometimes has chains blocked that they can't run, but they're able to move.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Sagt die Gemara weiter. My timer. What is the svar? Why can't you tie and make a little bit of a train, of a camel train? Amar Rashi, mishum de michsi commanda ozog l'chinga. So Rashi says it looks like you're taking them out to the market to sell, because that's the configuration in which people would lead their animals to the market. But Rashi says chinga is actually a dance, because a marketplace looks like a chasana, it looks like a dance. There's a whole bunch of booths, and people are going around and around in a circle, going from booth to booth. So Rashi says that a marketplace looks like a dance.
That's why I like what they call that terrace chinka, no?
What's that?
And the wedding hall, something chinka.
Chinka. I hear. I always wondered for us that we should always change the way Kadeshim are done, and we should change the way PTA are done. Because what happens every Shabbos, which we hope to have soon again, is that there's a Kiddush in many different shuls, and you have the whole community walking up and down and back and forth to all the shuls. I think it would be so much simpler if every Baal Simcha paid money to give a Kiddush in every shul, and then the five Baal Simchas walk around to all the shuls and say Mazel Tov, and not be matriach to allow them to walk around. It's the same with PTA. PTA, you have hundreds of parents going from desk to desk, waiting. I think it's so much simpler to have all the parents sit in a big circle around the perimeter of the room and let the teachers walk around the room. It's so much simpler. Why be matriach so many people if you can only be matriach small amount of people? Now you know why I'm not a principal. One more reason to add to the list. So the Gemara, so the Mishnah says, so you're allowed to hold multiple leashes together, but you're not allowed to create a train. Amar Vashi, lo shanu ela le'inyan klayim. That it says, what is the problem with wrapping some harness around your hand? What could be the problem? So Vashi, in fact, this is not a Shabbos problem. This has nothing to do with Hilchos Shabbos. This is a Klayim problem. Amar Vashi l'shanu ela le'inyan klayim. There'd be a problem of Klayim if you wrap the harness around your hand. Frankly, more climb to mind. What type of climb is there? Elam climb to Adam. If you're going to suggest it might be climb to Adam, We know it says in the pasuk like sachrish, b'shor, v'chamor b'yachtiv. You're not allowed to have two animals doing work together. So we're afraid that if you take a harness of an animal and you wrap it around your hand, and then together you're pulling something, there's climb because you have a human that's doing work tied together with an animal. So there's that climb. So tomorrow that cannot be that's climb, because what now we learned in the Brisa, Adam muter kulam, lachrish v'lim shach. There's no problem of climb with a human pulling together with a horse. It's only a problem if there's two animals together. So that cannot be the reason why you're not allowed to wrap the harness around your hand. We're afraid that if the harness itself is made out of shatnez and you wrap it around your hand, that will mean that you're now enjoying the climb. Your hand is going to be warmed by these harnesses that are wrapped around your hand. Even in real climb, when you have wool and linen, even if there's one stitch holding it together, that's not called a chibur midaraisa to make a shatnez. It has to be well sewed together, that they should be well bonded. So if you merely have harnesses wrapped around your hand, that's surely not a bonding, and that surely shouldn't be usher. Now, Rashi makes it very clear that we're not concerned that each individual harness is made out of shatnez. We're concerned that you have one harness that's made out of pishton, and one harness that's made out of tzemer, and you wrap them around your hand together, that will create the bond. On that, the Gemara is saying that's not a bond, and that wouldn't be shatnez at all. So Gemara la'olam kalayim d'chavolim. Really, we're talking about kalayim d'chavolim. And what does it mean to say that you're not allowed to do it? You're not allowed to wrap it around your hand and tie it down and bond it well. So the isser of yichroich doesn't just mean you're not allowed to wrap it around your hand. You're not allowed to wrap tzemer and pishton around your hand and tie it together very well so it should be like a permanent bond, because that would be climb of shatnez. Amar Shmuel had another restriction. When you're holding on to the rein, you don't hold the last inch of the rein. You hold it so that there should be some strap extending past your hand that goes down. Zokt Shmuel, when you're holding a rein on Shabbos, you have to hold it very close to the end of the rein, because if there's too much hanging out of your hand that's loose, you're now holding that. You're now carrying that, and that will be a problem. It looks like he's just holding a rope. It might not be obvious that the little bit of rein that's hanging out of his hand is part of the harness. It might look like he's carrying a harness on Shabbos, which would not be allowed. So Shmuel says, make sure you don't have too much hanging out of your hand. In fact, Shmuel Tfachayim. We have a psak that came out of the Beis Medrash of Shmuel that says that a tefach hanging out of your hand is allowed. It's 2 tvachim is the cutoff. Omer Abaye, Hashud Omer Shmuel Tefach. The Tana Devei Shmuel Tfachayim, it will tell us that Shmuel Halach L'maisa Ashal Hashmiyam. Once there's 2 tvachim hanging out, then it's Taka Nisr. So Shmuel, when he told people what to do, he told people it shouldn't hang out more than a tefach, because he knows that just in case someone lets it hang out a little bit more than a tefach, there's a safety margin of a full tefach till it actually violates in Nisr.
Yosy, sorry, just a question. Was there an isser of leading your animal on Shabbos?
Mechamer. The question is mechamer. That's you're asking a very good question. I don't know the answer, because mechamer is also. But the question is, what is mechamer? Is mechamer mean stam leading the animal, or does it mean you're doing it for a purpose? I don't know the answer.
And also, when you started mentioning, when Grubner mentioned climb, it's not at all a question of 2 different animals you're leading, 2 different types.
No, because here we're talking about all gemalim.
It was very clear those all camels, right? And
then you're allowed to lead 2 animals together. You're not allowed to lead them in work. So if they're not, one of Toys's kashas is Toysus and his Havmin have thought that we're talking about Shabbos. So Toysus asks, how could this be Klayim? they're not doing any work because it's on Shabbos. So they can't be pulling a wagon, because if they would be pulling a wagon or doing any type of work, that in fact would be Asur al Shabbos.
So this is not talking about, this is not on Shabbos then, this whole Mishnah?
This is not necessarily even on Shabbos. Oh, so then it answers your Shaila of Mechamer as well. Right. This is even not on Shabbos.
So what, this Mishnah putting the blanket on? What?
No, just the last item of Lo Yikshar Gemalim Zeh B'Zeh V'Yimshos of a Makos Kavelim Techoli V'Yimshach U'Vach Lo Yichrach. The last line of U'Vach Lo Yichrach. Thank you. The last line of this U'Vach Lo Yichrach is even not on Shabbos.
Yeah, but the next line of Omer Shmuel that you have to leave it at Tefach, that's Shabbos.
Yeah, that is going back to Shabbos. That's right.
The David's Kasha stands. Why are you leading your animal in the first place?
Right. So Vaisachas, you're allowed to lead your animal. I think Mechaber means leading it to do work. I don't know if Stam leading your animal is going to be a problem. You're allowed to Stam lead your animal. You're just not allowed to take it to work. But I'll have to.
The idea of riding on an animal is a drabanan only. You're really allowed to ride on your animal, I think. The only reason you're not allowed to is
Mechamer is a deraisa. That we know for sure. Because at the beginning of the parak, we were looking for the isser of working with an animal, and most Rishonim, like Tosha said, that it's because L'man Yenuach Shorcha B'Chamerecha. It says L'man Yenuach, it's an isser say. But the problem is there's a pasuk that says, we say in the Kiddush, like Sasu Kamalacha, Atu Vilcha V'Techa, Aducha B'Matzu V'Emtecha. So there's a loisha set on it. So a lot of Rishonim learn that loisha set is only referring to the isser of Mechamer. So Mechamer means leading your animal into work. That actually
to work.
Yeah.
But if you're leading it to the pasture or something, or from one pasture to the other part of the pasture.
Yeah, that probably would not be the isser of Mechamer.
So, right.
And that would not be the isser of Mechamer. I'll look it up and I'll get clarity in that. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. Vatanya we learned. Uvalvad shiyagbia minakarka tefach. It says that it only has to be a tefach off the ground. So you just told me, Shmuel, that it can't hang out of your hand more than a tefach or not more than two tefachim. The Brisa says you're allowed to let the harness hang down as long as you want, as long as it's not within a tefach of the karka. So Gemara kitanya hi bechevul de beini beini. That's talking about the leash in between you and the animal. It droops down. You could let it droop down, but it shouldn't droop down so far that it appears that it's on the floor and it's with a tefach on the ground. But of course, you're allowed to let it droop down a little bit, and there's no limit to how much space you can leave between you and the animal and how long the harness has to be. But whatever part of the harness is past your hand, closer to you, that shouldn't be more than the tefach.
Yosy, what's the problem of letting it hang down even more than a tefach?
So Rashi tells us on Amud Aleph, Rashi, the problem is shelo yetze chevel, roish chevel, the end of the harness, lo yetze mitachas yodai tefach lamata. It shouldn't hang more than the tefach out of your hand.
Out of your hand, because it looks like you're carrying it, but
the
other part of the leash. But the other part of the leash.
You're asking on the other
hand.
side. You're asking on the other side.
Yeah.
So Rashi says on Nundal and Beis, Rashi will not shake the enemy in a karka tefach. It has to be obvious that you're using it to pull the animal. The Eloi, if it's not visible, that it's not recognizable that I'm using the harness to pull the animal, it doesn't look like the purpose of this harness is to protect the animal. It looks like the animal is just carrying a loose load. Because it doesn't look like you're leading the animal with it. So the reason why it can't hang down so low is because it has to be very obvious that the reason why that harness is there is because someone's leading it.
So yes, if you have a linen undershirt and then a wool overshirt, is that a problem? One on top of each other?
Not at all.
So how is it that two different reins? They're not wound together, they're not woven? What's your understanding?
Right, so that was the Gemara's kasha. That's exactly what the Gemara's kasha was, right? And the Gemara answered by saying the yikshar. It's only usher if you take the wool and linen and you tie them together. That's when it'll be usher. But if you're just holding them in your hand, the Gemara in fact says that would not be a problem at all. Because the Gemara said even one stitch joining wool and linen wouldn't make it Shabbos. It has to be a very strong and permanent bond. So therefore, the Gemara said in order to understand the Mishnah, which is a little bit schwer in the Mishnah, because the Mishnah is of Lachlo Yichrach, and the Gemara had to amend it and say Yichrach doesn't just mean wrapping it around your hand. It means you wrapped it around your hand and you tied it as well. And that's the third line from the bottom. And the Daled Amud Aleph, the first three words is Lachlo Yichrach v'Yikshar. Unless you did both together, then it would not be considered Shabbos. Okay, so let's see what the Gemara says. Ein chamor yoytze b'merdas. So the Mishnah, the parak started off with a chamor going out with a merdas. And let's just look at the beginning of the parak, the first Mishnah. I'm sorry, not the first, Nun Beis Nun Beis. It says chamor yoytze b'merdas. The Mishnah on the bottom of Nun Beis Nun Beis. Chamor yoytze b'merdas is machi kshura. And we typed that it meant as long as it was tied on to the camel mib'oy join. It couldn't be not mib'oy join. And the Gemara brought a raya from the Mishnah that we're about to learn, because here it says ein chamor yoytze b'merdas bizman she'ein kshura loy. So the Gemara asks, well, if you cannot go out with a merdas if it's not tied, well then why do I need the Mishnah to tell me earlier that the chamor could go out with a merdas if it is tied? So because of that, the Gemara said the bizman she'ein kshura loy here must mean if it's not already tied on to the chamor mib'oy join, because otherwise it's redundant. The Tana said before the chamor could go out the merdas when it's kshura loy. Here it says it cannot go out when it's not kshura loy. Those two halachas, one of them is redundant. So therefore, we learned that kshura loy means it has to be mib'oy joim. Already on Friday afternoon, the merdas had to be tied up. V'loy bezug, and not with a bell, like a cowbell, avapishu pakuk, even though it's plugged up, so that the clapper won't ring. We said by a shor it's allowed, by a chamor it's not allowed at all. V'loy besulam shebetzavari. Sulam was some type of contraption that was put around the neck. The Gemara is going to tell us. You ever see these dogs that have like a cone around their neck that's made to protect it from biting at itself? So that's what this is. And not a strap that's on the leg of the chamor. They're not allowed to go out with all these things. The Gemara is going to explain. A tarnagoyl is not allowed to go out with a thread on its legs. And the Gemara will tell us, did you ever go to the airport and it's so hard when your baggage is coming out of the conveyor, it's so hard to know which is yours, which is not yours. So some people will wrap like a colorful ribbon around their handle so they'll recognize their luggage right away. So people used to do that with chickens. They would put a ribbon around the chicken's leg, and then it would be easy to know which ones were theirs. And not a strap on their. So chutin is anywhere wrapped around the chicken. Ritusha berglein is tying your legs together. These some of the males had very, very big, tails, big, fat, massive tails, and it would drag along the ground, and it would get infected. It would get irritated. So they actually created a mini wagon that they actually put underneath the tail, and it was he calls it a wagonette. And they had a little wagon underneath the tail to lift the tail off the ground, and they just pulled it along. And rechelis are not allowed to go out. Rechelim cannot go out to chanunos, which the Gemara will explain. And a calf cannot go out with a gimun. Again, the Gemara is going to explain. And Rashi tells us over here is they would wrap the udders with the skin of some type of animal, the prickly skin. It wasn't the what does he call it? He calls it hedgehog skin. Hedgehog skin has some prickles in it, I guess similar to a porcupine, and they wrap the udders of animals with it so that other animals who aren't supposed to be nursing from this parah shouldn't come and nurse from the parah. and they're not allowed to go out with a little strap or a little harness that was in between the horns. That was for noi. However, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah held that is considered a tachshit, and the Tanakh hold it's not considered a tachshit. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah allowed his cows to go out with his tachshit, although the Tanakh held that was wrong. My timer, what's the reason for the first halacha in our Mishnah of ein chamor yotze b'madas b'man she'en kshur eloi? K'da'amran, like the Gemara already explained by the first sugya, that if you don't tie on the mardas to the chamor before Shabbos, it will look like a masui, and it doesn't look like it's on the chamor to keep the chamor warm. If you just put it on Shabbos, it looks like you're just trying to transport it. V'loi bezug af al pishu pakuk. Why are you not allowed to go around with a bell? Again, if a chamor has a bell on him, it looks like you're going to take it to sell, which wouldn't be allowed. What is the sulam? It's something that protects. It's something. Oh, Victor sent me something. Let me see it about a ram with a fat tail. Oh, you're telling me. Oh, was it a picture you sent me? It's a picture. Okay, shkoyach. Okay, v'lei b'sulam shibit savari. It's something that would go around the jaws. Lamai avdelei. What was the purpose of it? What was the purpose of this thing? So if there's some type of makkah on the animal, it won't scratch it with its mouth, and it prevents it from turning its neck around and scraping at itself, which we see all the time with dogs. Why do they put straps on the legs of animals? The Agudah legizra. So Rashi says, if you had an animal that when it walked, it banged its knees or its ankles together, they would put straps around its legs to prevent him from getting irritated because the legs bang each other together. Why do they have that? They would put different colored threads on their chickens so their chickens would be easily recognizable when they would get mixed up with other chickens. The Avdilay, why would they do that? Why would they tie up the legs of a chicken with a strap? The Avdilay, chickens tend to move their legs around and shoot up stones, and those stones can break Halem. So in order to prevent the chickens from damaging things, they would tie their legs that would restrain them from being able to kick up stones. Yes.
Yeah. The ritzua and the sulam seem to be something that they would wear all the time, and it's protecting the animal. Why can't they just keep it on for Shabbos? The other items maybe not, the bell and even this last the chutin, these maybe not.
I'll ask a better. I can ask even a better kasha. Can even ask a better kasha that I think whether Shonim asked. That is, we learned a bandage, an animal is allowed to go out with on Shabbos.
Yeah,
so the answer goes back to David Leitman's side. That this is not,
if it falls off, nobody cares. It's just a piece of cloth.
But if these fall off, they're valuable.
These are valuable, but why wouldn't the Gemara give you the optionality like it does before, that if it's tied well?
I guess because these things, no matter how you tied it, maybe would be possible to fall off.
Uh-huh.
Right? The Rishonim also asks from a splint. We said an animal that has a broken bone can go out with a splint. Again, why could it? Because even if the splint falls off, it's just two pieces of wood. It's not an expensive medical device. A piece of wood costs maybe $1. What does a splint cost? David could tell us it probably costs a lot more than $1. Medical items are very expensive.
It still seems like a mishmash because some of the things are inexpensive, like the string tied to the chicken's foot is inexpensive and it's going to be tied on well. Other things are for the benefit of the animals. It's this weird mishmash. You could, usually a Mishnah has one idea, or you've got a Reish and a Seifa with two ideas. But this seems like this weird mishmash where you have some things are for the benefit of the animal, some things are for the benefit of the owner. Some things are valuable, some things are not valuable.
Well, so in our Mishnah, Kamat, everything besides the Zug, all the other items in our Mishnah are all things that are for the benefit of the animal. And it's all
the bell's not for the benefit of the animal.
Right, the bell is the only thing that's told. The bell,
The strings on the chicken are not for the benefit of the animal.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
If it's for the benefit of the animal, it's the benefit of the owner. What's good for the goose?
We already said that. We already said that.
Yeah.
Benefit of the owner would take it away from being a masri, but the problem is it might fall off and the person will pick it up. So I think it's asking me a little ribbon around the chicken. How valuable is that? I guess in those days it's interesting what was valuable.
Well, it's valuable because you're gonna lose your chicken. If it falls off, you can't put it back on, and you're public. You lost your chicken.
Yeah, but that wouldn't cause me to lift it up and take it home with me. The worry is that I'll pick up the ribbon and walk home with the ribbon.
No, your worry is you'll pick it up in Rosh Hashanah and tie it back on again.
No,
or maybe by the chicken. Tying it on won't be a problem. The concern would be if the ribbon falls off, I'll pick up the chicken and carry the chicken home because I don't want to lose the chicken.
Oh. Looks good. Looks good. Hast noch chickens?
The chicken or the egg, Shiloh?
So I can't let the chicken out with a ribbon on it because if the ribbon would fall off, I would pick up the chicken and carry the chicken home. I'm not concerned about the ribbon.
So I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but for sure the chicken came before the ribbon.
The chicken came before the ribbon.
But the of delay, why is that? They have such long tails that they needed a special wagon just for their tails. What is chanunos?
It shows a picture of that, how it looked like.
Yeah, I think you sent out a picture. That's right. Okay. It's the tail of the wagon. Okay, tail, T-A-L-E. Tail of the tail wagon. Okay. That brings new meaning to a tailgate party. Zok the Gemara weiter. The Eina Rechem Yotzes Chanunos. What does Chanunos mean? Zok the Gemara Yosy Reb Adar bar Ula Kamed Reb Chisda. Reb Adar bar Ula was sitting in front of Reb Chisda. The Yosef and he sat down. So the article asks, he was sitting in front of Reb Chisda and then he sat down. What does that mean? So the article says something very interesting. He brings it down from the Mishnas Chachamim that whenever Reb Acha bar Ula was in yeshiva and wanted to say something in front of Reb Chisda, first he stood up and out of respect for Reb Chisda, and he got permission. And once he got permission to speak, then he sat back down and he continued. So that's why even though after he was sitting, he sat down again, because in the middle he stood up to get permission to speak. The Karmani said, after they shear the rechelim, they're cold because they just lost their coat. So what do? They would soak a shmata in oil, and they would put that oil saturated gauze on the forehead of these rechelis, so they shouldn't cool off. Okay, so to Gemara, Reb Chisda told him, Im Kain, what you're doing is Asisa Marukva. It's very funny, this Gemara. Marukva was an usher and he was an Av Bezdin. And he drove a very nice car. He lived a very high lifestyle. So Chris is saying, you tell me that all these sheep are people who need such a luxurious lifestyle that since they cut off their little wool, they right away need to worm themselves? These are rugged animals. What are you talking about? You can't say that animals need that stuff. So it doesn't make sense that that's what it is. Elo Yosef Rav Papa Bar Shmuel Kamed Reb Chisda. So then Rav Papa asked permission to speak and sat back down, and he had a different suggestion. The Yosef the Ka'amar B'Shosha Kares Leileit, when the animal's giving birth, again it's weak, it's cold. So what do? Time Lashnei Azaken Shal Shemen. They took two saturated cloths with oil. One they put on her forehead, and the one on her womb, to warm up. You made her into a Yalta. Yalta was the wife of Rav Nachman, who was also a Besed Fro. So it's funny that the Gemara, it's not Lashon Hara to say she's a Yenta, because when you're just using the name to describe certain behaviors, the Gemara takes the liberty of doing that. I'm not sure if that's considered like, I can think of people who very much indulge in Gashmis, but I would never say, who do you think you are? This guy? Because that guy might be offended if I say that, unless that guy would be complimented. But the Gemara actually says, "Who do you think you are, Mar Ukva? You're making the sheep like Mar Ukva." If I was Mar Ukva, I would probably be a little bit uncomfortable with that. Maybe not. I'm not sure. And Yalta gets big recognition in the Gemara. Anytime we're looking to use as an example of a lady who's demanding and who likes taking care of herself, Yalta is the name. Ella Omar Vuna, I'll tell you what it is. It's tabak. Eitz echad yesh bekorcheyam. There's a certain wood that you find in the islands. The chanun shemoy. The name of this wood is called chanun. Umavin kisam. They would take a small splinter of it. Umanichama b'chaytma, and they would put it in the nose of the animal, and the animal will go. So it should sneeze. Why do we want to make the animal sneeze? If the animal had worms in its head, by the animal sneezing, it would make it go out. Why is it, doctor, for the females that you can't put this wood in her nose? Why can't you also? Why is there an issue? Why is it only rechelos that should be? We should discuss male animals. The male animals don't need that. Since male animals tend to bang around together and they fight, they push, that movement shakes any worms out of their heads. But the females who are much more calm, in order to get the worms out of their head, you give them this thing that induces sneezing. Shimon Nazira said, Amr Kisma de Risma. It was a chip of something called rosenwood, and that also induced sneezing. So according to Rav Huna, I understand why it used the word chanunos, because that's the name of the wood. Chanun shemoy. Elul Rabbanon, my chanunos. According to the Rabbanon, who said that it's kisma de risma, why would it be called chanunos? Because we're using this wood to do something that displays mercy, that we're being merciful to the animals. We're helping them get rid of the worms that they have inside their head. The Eina Egel Yosy begimun. So what is this gimun that a calf is not allowed to go out with? My Egel begimun. Amar Huna bar nira. The definition of a gimun is a bar nira, and Rashi says it's an oil cotton. It's a small yoke. Shamanichan the egel b'tzavari that you put around the neck of an egel, and what it does is sheyalamud lochuf roshi l'chashiyigdal. Even though right now the calf is not going to be plowing, is not going to be pulling a plow, but we want to get it into the habit of keeping its head down, which is the position of the head of an ox when it's plowing. So therefore, they put on I guess what we call the training yoke, and that's what it's not allowed to go out on Shabbos. Amar Balazar, my mashma. Where do you see from the word gimun a yoke? My mashma, the high gimun lishon of mechav. Where do you see the lotion of yoke that puts its head down? The chsiv halakuf ka'agmon roishay. The pasuk says, "Chazer yitzoyim efcharer yoimanas adam nafshoy." They were fasting, they were being karbonis, but they weren't sincere. So Hashem said, "Halachiv ka'agmon roishay." You're going to shuckle your head a little bit to make it look like you're in remorse when it's all fake. But the lashon of lakav ka'agmon roishay means he bowed his head like a reed. So it's a lashon of bowing his head. So that's why we use the word gimon to describe this training yoke that trains the animal to bow its head. Zokt Gemara weiter. What does it mean? Like para ba'ara kufer. That's what I think it was the hedgehog skin, which is prickly. And what does that do? So Gemara. So animals that are called yalis should not nurse from the cow. Rashi says yali is a nushuash. The ArtScroll teaches yali. Let's see where we have it over here. Yali is a leech. So leeches shouldn't suck. Or he says Toshis teaches yali as a hedgehog. So we don't want the hedgehog to nurse. So they would put these prickly things so that
the hedgehog is the thing that they're putting on to prevent the leeches from attaching.
That's how we learn in Rashi, but he brings down from Toshis that Toshis touches the word yali as a hedgehog. So let's see Toshis, because Toshis asks, it doesn't make sense that it's leeches, because leeches Toshis they ain't moited touch eladam. the practice of leeches are not to leech milk, it's to leech blood. It should use the word alukos. You never found that a leech is referred to as a yali. Near the yali haninami cooper, they used to use the skin of a hedgehog to prevent the hedgehog from trying to nurse. And I guess hedgehogs knew that their skin was rough, so they didn't even try. They already knew, oh, we're not touching that. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. What's the problem with a kapara going out with Ritzushim ben Karnel? The Ila Rav, Ben Lenoy, Ben L'Shamar Aser. If it's going to Rav, Sai if it's as a decoration, it's Aser, and Sai if it's as a decoration, it's Aser because it's not the derech to go out. The Chacham held that it wasn't the derech for a parrot to go out with such an adornment, and Lishmar Aser because we learned earlier that Rav holds that an overkill type of harness is going to be Aser for an animal to go out with. And we learned at the beginning of the Gemara that cows are very calm and they don't need any type of harness. So any type of harness would be considered overkill. And Shmuel who held that an overkill harness, Shmuel Pascal Chananya, that an overkill harness is mutter, so he would hold L'noi Aser, L'shamar mutter. If it was there only as an adornment, then the Chachamim hold it's Aser because it's not a normal takshit for a para. But if you did it, if you had that harness there because you wanted to tie it up, even though it's overkill, Shmuel holds a Chananya that that's K'muni mutter. Parasoi Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The par of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Zok to Gemara, L'chad par havilei. Are you telling me that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah only had one cow? V'amar Rav, v'amri lo amar Rav Yehuda amar Rav, Treser alfei aglei have a ma'aser Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah me'edrei kol shato v'shato. As Meiser, he gave 13,000 animals every year, which means he had born to him 130,000 animals were born to him every year. So you're saying he had one cow? Tana loy shaloi haisa, elishal shchenasei haisa. Really, this is where the Chalomos is there. Really, this cow that we're talking about didn't belong to him, and he Avada didn't push the envelope and didn't have any ritzuas on his paris. But it happened by his neighbor. Since he didn't want to get involved and didn't tell his neighbor that this is not appropriate, Nikras al Shemoi, he gets blamed for it. So that's where the Chalomos Yitzchok was relevant. Rab Chanina, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chaviva, Masne b'chula Seder Demoid. They learned all of Seder Demoid. Kol ki hay zuga chalufei Rabbi Yochanan u'ma'ayel Rabbi Yochanan. Any place where they saw Rabbi Yochanan, they learned that was really Rabbi Yochanan. I'm not sure what Chalufei Rabbi Yochanan. Yesh machalifin Rabbi Yochanan u'ma'ayel Rabbi Yochanan. So are those who say that it's not Rabbi Yochanan speaking, but it's Rabbi Yochanan speaking. And what did they say? Any person who would have had the opportunity to be moicha against something that was wrong and doesn't stop it, nitves al anshe beisai. So Rashi says, nenash al averis shabiyodam. He will also end up getting punished for their averis that they did that he could have prevented. But anshe irai, nitves al anshe irai. If he would have had influence on this whole city and he didn't exert that influence, then he would be punished for them. And people who are members of the Reish Galusa, who have power and influence, they will be responsible for the affairs of anywhere in the world. Let's see inside. It's in Shishaya. Hashem b'mishpat Yavai mzikle amay v'sarv v'atem bi'artem hakerem gezelas ha'ani b'vatechem. Zoktemar im sarim chatu. If let's just see Rashi. V'cholam kulei b'chol Yisrael goin melech v'nasi she'ev shlei limchais she'yarei mipanav u'makayim devarav. He'll bear responsibility. So it says im zikne amav v'sarv. Zoktemar im sarav chatu. If the officers did affairs, zakenim machatu. Why is it the zakenim's part? Elaema al zakenim shleimichu b'sarim. Even though it's the sarim who did affairs, but the zakenim, the Sanhedrin, gets punished for that as well because they could have protested, they could have stopped it, and they didn't. See what time it is? Hey, we better stop here.
You see Bill de Blasio is holding on the daf.
He was moiche.
You didn't see what?
Yeah, but there's a big time on him that he wasn't moiche for the people who went to the air show.
Yeah, those people, but the Jews, you know.
Good.